Hello, everyone. My name is Marcus Munger, and today I'm going to be presenting my results for my personality test and how it relates to decision making. So let's get started. Okay. So after taking the test, I got the personality type ENFPA. Um, so a few traits that are characterized by this personality type is enthusiasm, creativity, and idealism. Um, there's a heavy appetite for new experiences and perspectives, as well as it's given to people who are extroverted and intuitive, and I make decisions based on intuitive feelings, basically. Some of the advantages are you're creative, inspiring, um, you're adaptable, and you focus on building strong connections with people. Some of the disadvantages are you dislike routine. There's a resistance to structure, um, very easily distracted, and a lot of times you can act without thinking. So these are the advantages and disadvantages, um, and the characteristics of this particular personality type. Now, do I agree or disagree? I would say yes and no, to a certain extent. Mostly because it feels like when I was answering the questions, it was more about like ideally how I would act, but it's not always how I act, and it's not always the personality of traits that I've learned, but it's more of the personality that I have mostly, and but sometimes I have to like kind of dial it down sometimes, basically, especially in the workplace. Um, yeah, so I have traits that go with this, but also have traits that are not inherently part of that this personality type. For example, I agree with being creative. I would consider myself creative. I like to have creative solutions and deal with problems as they arise. I'm a very go with the flow kind of a person, and I don't mind not kind of having a solution right away and trying to think around it and think of some cool ways to solve a problem. I really enjoy doing that. Um, I do focus on building connections with people, and I am extroverted to an extent. Um, yeah, I just, when I meet people and I want them in my life, I focus on building a strong connection. And yeah, I gain energy from being around people and social interactions. Yeah, I like being around a lot of people, and yeah, I'm also very easily distracted. So that's one too. The way I would disagree with is that it's kind of weird because I would also consider myself like very introverted at times as well. I love my alone time. I love being in my own space. Um, as much as I love being around people and social interactions, and I can hang out with friends all the time and meet new people, no problem. Um, I also need time to recharge and need time alone and kind of just need my solitude, and I enjoy that as well. I also I do like routines. Um, and I like having a set routine for certain things in my life. Some things you don't need a routine. I know a lot of people, maybe with that particular personality type want to have a routine with everything that they're in their life, but I like to have a routine with things that allow me to be creative in ways that I want. Um, basically just saying like kind of have I guess like a routine sort of baseline discipline down, like the routine of getting your work done, a routine of, my schedule at work. I like to have a set routine with that. I like to have a set routine with, my workout plan, my diet, things like those. And then if those are good, I feel good about myself, and then I'm more open to being the true personality type, and now I can be creative in other things. But if I don't have the routine for like the basics, then it kind of messes with me a little bit too. So that's why I say that's how I disagree with that. Okay, moving on to a chapter 9 connection. The biggest thing I found that connected from chapter 9 is the garbage can model of decision making. It's characterized by essentially it's like accidentally solving problems, and it's more about how all these different factors come together. Um, like problems, solutions, participants, and opportunities. So timing is a big thing. Um, Sometimes the solution will be there before a problem even arises, but you can kind of see these things kind of coming together. And timing is a huge thing. The timing of everything is huge in this type of decision making model. Um, yeah, okay. I believe this concept works well with the characteristics outlined in my personality test because it's a fast and loose decision-making process, and it relies on the natural flow of things and inherently has the perspective that everything will work out if you are creative enough. Again, I'm a very much go with the flow kind of a person. Yeah, I have my routines, but if things don't work out, I don't mind being creative and being adaptable and moving around and stuff. And I'm very open and prefer that way in a lot of things too. So, um, I don't necessarily think that this model is bad. It's just kind of ignores the structure of, maybe the organization that you're working for. Um, yes, this decision-making process is highly reliant on creativity and ignoring structure, essentially. It is a highly unpredictable process and focuses on the idea that good ideas can happen. Good ideas and solutions can happen by chance. Um, so again, it's fast and loose. It's a good idea, but in practice, it's very difficult to enact. Again, I find that at work, I work at Starbucks, so everything they want to be very structured, very routine. And in that kind of setting where I'm at, just as a shift supervisor, there's not too much of my true personality that I can kind of bring to the table. I do it in as many ways that I can, but in the base problem solution, uh, you know, decision-making process that they want us to use, it's much more of a structure based. Um, but yeah, this garbage can model definitely goes with the personality test that I received. All right, couple potential barriers to this. Particular, what they're asking is if I worked with a colleague that had a different type of personality than I have, um, which I have actually, very, very just structured people. They need everything planned from open to close, morning to night. They need every little thing ready to go and structured, right? Um, so in this case, they would be frustrated with the lack of structured decision-making processes. And in turn, I would be frustrated with the constraint on my creative thinking because of the structure. Whereas if I have all these outside the box ideas, they're a lot of times not going to be accepted because of the structure and the other personality types don't accept aren't as accepting to outside ideas and stuff. Um, Another thing they would be frustrated with is that I would get distracted easily instead of honing in on focusing what they wanted fully. Again, if they're making a plan for the whole day, maybe I'm just making a plan for the next couple hours, and then I know I know all my factors, and I'm confident that I can make decisions in the moment for a good day. But they would be frustrated with my lack of honing in on structuring the whole day and getting distracted focusing on things in the moment. Um, the counter to that is I would be frustrated with the lack of consideration of other factors and possible solutions. Again, like I was just saying, um, the structure would and does inhibit me from making too many creative decisions and considering creative ways of solving things because they want you to do it very specifically. But yeah. So in conclusion, um, the personality test was mostly correct, but I do have traits from other kinds of personalities. So I think that as I was answering these questions, I was thinking more of like at my core, what my personality is. Um, Again, even if some of my learned traits, um, just to like be out in the world effectively um, are kind of opposed that. So yeah, thank you guys very much for listening to my presentation.